Dustin, welcome to the show, man.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much. Mate, you grew up in Cobb County, if I remember, and then you moved to Illinois. But how was that whole experience? Like, how did that shape who you are today?
Yeah, man. So definitely pros and cons to making that decision. Why I made that move was when I grew up primarily with my mom, and my dad lived in different houses. So I was raised by my mom and my stepdad. I went to visit my other dad every other weekend, and it wasn't like a really rough childhood, you know what I mean? But it was a strict upbringing. And there came a point in time where when I hit that age of about 13, I was, just an adolescent kid that was like causing trouble. And I was asked the question, would you rather live with me or me? And I had to make the decision, which was really hard as a 13-year-old kid. But I made the decision to move and live with my dad. So after that, my mom, stepdad, brother, sister, they moved to Illinois, which was where he was from. And, I lived with my dad for a while till I graduated high school, and I made the decision, hey, I want to go back and be around my mom and siblings and stuff. So that's why I ventured to Illinois. But there's a regret in the decision because knowing what I know now, I feel like my life would have been different. I probably would have been to a college. I would have been in different sports. Like my life would have done a complete 180 from where it is currently. But I never know if it's for the good or the bad. It's, I like to look at that as, you have to embrace the failure and the things that you've been through because it shaped you into the person that you are today. And without them, you wouldn't be where you're at. So even though at times I regret decisions that I've made, at the end of the day, I enjoy where I am currently. So that's kind of the transition from Cobb County to Illinois.
Yes. You're a high-performance entrepreneur. You're an online fitness personality. And I'm sure leading up to where you are today, mate, you've had some pretty demanding jobs. But where did you start? Like, what were some of the jobs that you were doing before you became an online fitness expert?
Yeah, so I've been a pretty hard worker. It's something that I kind of I wear proudly. I started working at a young age, but when I was in my early 20s, I had an MMA background, did stuff like that. And my goal was, let's do this for a career. And it never shakes out. So I worked blue collar, did a lot of construction and a lot of logging. So my mother's husband, he's like a 4th generation logger. And so I got into the industry, driving, a skidder, working in the timber. And even though it was hard work, I would much rather do that because I was paid by the skill, not by the hours that it took me to perform the task. And once I got a taste of that, I started to think outside of the box. And so I was kind of bought into that. And there came a point in time where, I love fitness, and I had a conversation with my wife about maybe just doing fitness in a gym. And she was 100% game, super supportive. So I went, got certified through NASM, got nutrition certification, did all the stuff, and I went and got a job at a gym. And I quickly realized that I made way less money and I worked way more hours. Well, it's like most people, man. I seen an ad in 2015. Alex Ramosi just came out with Gym Launch, and it was about how to build a hybrid business model. And I paid the money, dove into that, and started learning some skill sets on how to market, how to sell. And then from there, it was just like, I'm never turning back. I'm never going back to the gym to work. I'm never going back to work for somebody else. It's all for myself.
Yeah, you did mention too, Dustin, that you spent over $50,000 on coaching programs. And myself, I've invested a shit ton of money on mentorship. And what are some of the things that you've learned about, your entrepreneurial journey with marketing and investing and how to run a business? And what did investing all that money teach you?
Yeah, man. So it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself, and it taught me a lot about managing money as well. But I think that I learned a different skill with every mentor I was, whether it was a good experience or a bad experience. So I would never regret the money that I did spend on it. Going through different programs, they're all structured differently. Some are more one-on-one, some are group, some are more webinar style. And I really learned that I excel best in one-on-one. So as I was creating my own, business coaching program, I knew everything I was going to do was going to be correlated with one-on-one mentorship and not group, because I felt like I excelled better in that area. So I was going to do the same for clients that I worked with. And any 7 or 8 figure business owner that I've ever talked to, they all have a very similar opinion when it comes to, in order to be successful, you have to get really good at sales, really good at marketing, and the rest you'll learn as you go. And so I started diving into more of mentorships that were sales and marketing based, because the rest of the stuff I would learn as I kind of just got my feet wet and did the thing.
Yes. Yeah. And one of your first weeks, diving into, what you're doing today, I think you said you reached $10,000 in 1 week. But how was that possible from everything that you've learned up until this point? What was the skills and knowledge that you acquired to attain that specific goal?
I would say the biggest piece was the mindset. Mindset was the biggest thing that changed the game for me. And I feel like it was coming from a place of just being conditioned to, 9-to-5 life, working for someone else, and not really being able to future pace on what was actually possible. So once I kind of went through, and I had a call with a mindset coach at the time, and she explained to me, for one, I was playing the comparison game. I was trying to compare myself to people that have been in this space a really long time. And I was comparing my chapter 2 to their chapter 20. And that really opened my eyes. So I stopped doing that. And then the next thing was that no one was going to do it for me. The boring work that I was putting off and was avoiding, no one was going to do it for me. So if I wanted to actually go anywhere, that I had to do it. And I just buckled down. I made a game plan, and I did the boring stuff that I kept putting off to the side. And yeah, once I hit that first 10K week, I was like, oh man, okay, now I can really do this. Like, this is actually possible.
Yeah. Walk me through your timeline, Dustin. So where you are today, walk me through stepping into the fitness realm and what you're currently working on.
Yeah. So through the timeline from kind of where I was in, 2014 is when I first became an in-person trainer. 2015, I went online as a fitness coach. In early 2018, I exited my online fitness business and became a business coach for in-person trainers and people wanting to go online. I had a passion for fitness, but I still loved the business aspect, the logistics, being able to help other people to show them what was possible. Much like in fitness, we typically become a fitness coach because we get to experience our own fitness journey, or we get to have that feeling of what it's like to overcome something and actually accomplish a goal. So we want to, have other people experience that with us. So that's what I wanted to do as a business coach in 2018. And then in 2020, I opened a marketing agency as well. And then I've still just continued to do the same thing. When COVID came around, I had so many people reaching out that were outside of the fitness realm that were like, hey, can you help, like marketing agencies? Hey, can you help me grow my marketing company? Sure. I started helping several people like that, and it just continued to grow over time. So I became more of a consultant slash biz ops company than just strictly helping online fitness coaches.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So how much have you made in 1 week?
I mean, in totality as a fitness coach or like current?
Like, just like, what is the most you've made in 1 week?
A weekly revenue. So like right now we're at like 325 a month. So you just have to break that down.
Yeah, so 325K a month.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. But yeah, like scaling a 7-figure business, man, is pretty fucking remarkable. But what are the skill sets? So people that are listening to this right now and want to sort of dive into the work that you're doing and going on to that entrepreneurial wow, what are some of the skill sets that they should know? You mentioned mindset. That's huge, but you don't need any fancy degrees or, where should they go?
Yeah. So where I suggest people start is, let's say we're starting from scratch. Find a skill that you already know that you're good at, helping people solve a problem.
Yes.
And then from there, when you can solve a problem for someone, start trying to find people to solve that problem for. And the skill sets that you need are simply understanding how to communicate with someone, be a human and connect, and then how to get attention. The best $2 I say people could ever spend is on education for themselves and attention. That's where I would start. And I like to focus on 4 C's when it comes to online marketing of any kind. And that's creating content that speaks to one person to solve their problem, having conversations. From conversations, we're driving calls to see if we can help that person. And then from calls, we're turning clients. So if you can focus on those 4 things and get really good at the boring work, which is simply conversations and calls, like if you never quit, then you'll not be stoppable.
Yes. You mentioned we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. Can you elaborate on why systems are so important in business?
So I feel like in the beginning stages, we're just trying to throw stuff at a wall to see what really sticks. There comes a point in time where making money is nice, but we start to value our time more. And we realize that, much like there's only 8 hours in a 9 to 5 shift, there's only so many clients that we can serve as an individual. And so we have to start building a team. When you can systemize the process, you start buying back your time. And when I say systems, I don't mean just necessarily gadgets or more tech. It could be developing a system to build a sales team, developing a system for, appointment setters or for having conversations. I'm a big believer in that when you build a team that wants to serve at the same level as you will continue to grow, but you can't do it alone. So when you find people that have the same mission, have the same core values, and you can develop a systematic approach, then it becomes a lot easier. You start getting hours of your time back, and then you can automate and delegate as much as possible. So when I look at systems, I look at 4 Ds for every task that I have on my plate. I ask myself this question: is this something that I have to just do? Is this something that I can defer? Is this something that I can delegate? Or is this something that I can just delete altogether? And from those 4 Ds, it will dictate on how I approach every action that's either eating up my time or just stays on my day-to-day calendar.
Yeah. How do you identify which systems to build first, when growing an online business or consulting business?
So when it comes to developing that system, I never say we don't need to build ahead. We need to build in order to fulfill. So there's always going to be a bottleneck or a constraint. And typically what happens is that when we first start a business, when we hit $10,000, $15,000 a month, then it's time to either start delegating or systemizing something with automation. It's maybe bringing in a CSM, so a client success manager, or bringing in assistant coach, because fulfillment doesn't drive revenue in the business, and that's the job of the business owner. And then from there, it's like creating an SOP to where you can just hand it to client fulfillment and they know exactly how to do the job. And we just continue to take those steps in pulling everything out of our head and putting it on paper to where we can just hand it to someone and they'll understand how to do that task. From a systematic approach, I enjoy time, right? So like my thing is like, we can always make more money, but we can never make more time. So if you can create a system that will automate the process for you, whether it's client onboarding, whether it's fulfillment, if we're sending out onboarding, anything that is a repetitive task that we can use automation for, the better.
Yeah. 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 You were talking about automation, but with personal touch and growing a business, like what is the balance? Like, how do you balance and juggle that?
With automation, specifically, I feel like there's a fine line. In today's marketplace, I feel like people try and automate too soon or automate the wrong things. You can't automate human touch, and you can't take away that human aspect. So, I think 2 years ago, there was this thing coming out. One of my buddies did. I can't remember the name of the company, but basically it was replacing a salesperson in your business with AI. And so AI would be doing the closing for you. And I'm like, they might be well at handling objections, but they don't understand the emotional aspect of that individual. And the same with DMs. Like, I'm okay with automating maybe 1 or 2 touch points of a DM, but then a real person has to have that conversation. So there is a fine line. Automate anything that doesn't involve a human touch point as like a conversation, and you'll be good.
Yeah. Can you share what the differences are between working in your business and working on your business?
Yeah, 100%. So I actually just got off of a coaching call with a client and we had this discussion. So there comes a point in time in business to where we're being busy and we're being productive, and there is a difference. And you, like, in the beginning, you're wearing every hat of the business. You're wearing the CEO hat, marketing, sales, appointment setter, copywriter, funnel builder. We're doing all of the things. And as we grow, we slowly start removing ourselves from the business. And the way I do it is fulfillment first. And so we train someone that can help clients just the way we do. And then next, it would be an appointment setter, someone that can have conversations and book sales calls without us having to be there. Then it would be a sales closer, because let's face it, that will eat up all of your time as a CEO if you're taking all the sales calls. And then after that, it's like, cool, now I have somebody that's managing my DMs. I have someone that's taking all of my sales calls, and I have someone that's fulfilling all my clients. Now, as the business owner, I get to focus on growth and be the visionary of where we actually want to take this business.
Yeah. And in your experience too, Dustin, what are some of the most common mistakes online coaches make when they're trying to scale a business?
I think one of the biggest mistakes they make is they try and delegate too soon. And I feel the reason why they try and delegate too soon is because they remove themselves from a task, not because they're capped for time, but because they don't know how to do the skill, and they try and hire someone else that they feel like can do it better. And the constraint comes down to when that person doesn't do a great job, the business owner doesn't know how to do the skill either. So they can't train them to do it at the level that they want it done at. It's all about learning the skill set first to a degree where you can teach someone else how to do it as well as you. Because typically no one's going to run the business as well as the business owner. They're only going to perform at about a 70 or 80% mark. So trying to stay within those numbers is super important. Delegating too soon can definitely hurt the business. And that's probably the number one problem I see when it comes to being able to scale. The next piece is not doing the thing long enough before they decide to quit. The marketplace will trick you with all the ads and the marketing fluff and all the things that, hey, you can make 10K in 30 days when you start a business from scratch. And that misconception causes a lot of people to have more limiting beliefs, more self-doubt, more issues of them being the own roadblock, because when that 30-day mark comes and they haven't met that goal, now they feel like a failure. And so they're just like, oh, this isn't for me. And they quit. But if they saw it through, they would eventually hit that mark. So yeah, that's definitely the two biggest. We are our biggest roadblocks. So it's our own mindset and then delegation.
100%, man. 100%. You've helped over 1,000 coaches and consultants build six-figure businesses. But what would you say are some of the common traits amongst the successful ones?
The most common trait would definitely be they have all been very coachable, and they've not had an ego, and they've always listened and executed and asked questions later. The biggest needle mover is the implementation, not necessarily the information. What I see typically is the people that succeed the fastest are the ones that don't overthink. You give them a task or they have a vision and they go and do that thing 10 times before a normal person has even tried once because they've been overthinking it. You know, when it comes to creating content or when it comes to, you know, pricing and stuff like that, it's like, just do it and then let metrics determine if it's working or not. You can make adjustments later, but you just have to do whatever it is that you're thinking about doing.
Yeah. And what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned, you know, working with the clients that you work with that have hit 10K, 30, 40, 50K? You know, what are some of the lessons that you've learned on how to scale their businesses?
So one of the biggest lessons as like a mentor is you can't be afraid to say no to the wrong person, right? There comes a point in time where, as a business owner, when you bring someone into your business, even as a client, and I tell my fitness coaches this, I tell my consultant clients this, it's okay to tell someone no, they're not a good fit for what you do. And that was like a big stepping stone for me when I stopped accepting everyone. And then the next thing is like, you have to actually implement it. There are tons of great mentors out there. Those that hit the mark faster are the one that they show up to every coaching call. They do every piece of homework. They're actually committed and invested in actually getting to where they want to go, not people that have 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Yes. You leverage social media as well, Dustin, in particular Instagram. If I remember correctly, you had 93K followers at one stage. Is that correct?
I did, yeah. And I just went through and did like a mass delete because I'm cleaning up my account. And I'm running a test, right? So like Instagram is coming out with a lot of new features. Like last week, they incorporated the trial reel feature, which is pretty cool. And they're changing up the platform some and how it actually performs. So I went through and I started removing the least interactive with accounts. I just started removing all of those accounts and I continue to remove them as time goes on. So if I have an account on there that's following me and we don't ever communicate or they don't engage with my stuff or we don't have conversations, then I simply remove them, because I would much rather have 5,000 followers of people that are interested in what I say and what services I offer than have 100,000 people of, you know, just random followers that just sit there and do nothing with it.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's pretty curious on how to leverage social media to scale their business, but what do you understand about the Instagram algorithm? Like how the fuck does all that work?
Yeah. So The Instagram algorithm is, I don't think anyone will ever really understand it. I know that based on things that we've done in the past, it continuously changes. Instagram and YouTube constantly compete with each other. And like YouTube Shorts came out after Instagram Reels. And then Instagram changed up their algorithm, the way it operates, based off of, it used to be hashtags. Now it's SEO keywords, and what you actually put in the copy is what will drive visibility to people's pages. I love social media because it can be used as free or paid as a marketing tool. And if you leverage it correctly by just getting on there and posting valuable stuff or sharing your story or who you are, people will interact with you. And from that interaction, maybe they're struggling with the same thing you're struggling with. And so it leads to a conversation. In like 2019, 2020, everything went to, jump cuts, the Alex Hormozy style edits, and people were hesitant to even post anymore because they didn't have like fancy editors and all this team, like a lot of people do. And it's getting back to the basics. This year in 2025, I feel like social media is going to be changed by branding. Branding is going to be it. Like using your authentic voice and sharing your true story of who you are will separate you from everyone else in your space.
Yeah. It's interesting you were mentioning branding, because you've got a personal brand, you've got a shadow brand, and Instagram Reels are a powerful tool. And I posted a reel about a year and a bit ago about I did a podcast with a famous video that went viral of an MMA fighter that intervened in a street fight, and I had him on my podcast, and then we shot that, and then I used a couple of clips to edit that, and then post that out to the socials. But it did very well. But I remember too, you need a good hook, because unfortunately people have TikTok brain; they fucking can't pay attention. So you need something to captivate the audience. But what's a strategy that you could implement or explain in depth on how someone can hit 1 million views on a reel?
So yeah, to your point, it's definitely the hook, right? So the first 3 seconds of the video is the most important part of the video, because that will let the algorithm know the person is interested or not. And if you look at it as in the first 3 seconds, I'm trying to earn their attention by stopping their scroll. That's where I always say a negative hook to a positive outcome. We as people tend to enjoy negativity versus something that's positive. So if we say something negative in the beginning, people are going to stop and listen. And then by the next 3 to 5 seconds, we have them drawn in and they're listening to us. Instagram is based off of the seconds and watch time. It's not necessarily based off the vanity metrics of likes and comments. So if you can get people to stop and actually listen to what you're saying for 3 to 5 seconds, then you will get way more views than anything else.
Yeah. And is there any particular reels that you've done that have done exceptionally well? Like what have you learned about your previous reels that you've posted? Like studying maybe the algorithm and the analytics, like what have you found? Obviously the 3 seconds is crucial, having a good hook, but can you think of a specific reel that did quite well?
So I've done tons of collabs with people, and I think those reels do well. So I teach what some is called OPA, other people's audiences. So how you can leverage other people's audiences to provide value, and, much like podcasts, things like that. And when it comes to reels, I have had some reels do really well, but I could never find the one thing to replicate it. It really comes down to who sees it. I don't think that there's a certain time you need to post or anything like that. I have one client that has, well over 100,000 followers. And I asked him, I was like, how are you growing at like 10,000 followers a week? Like, what are you doing differently? And he said, I don't do anything different. He said, I don't post at a certain time. He's like, if I decide to post, I post. I post maybe 5 days a week. I don't post on the weekends. And his views are like, 500,000 views per reel. and he doesn't even speak. He'll just do like a simple exercise. He'll like point to his lat if he's doing back, and he'll do his exercise. Like, that's it. People are there for the value. For me and my niche, my value posts will typically get the least amount of engagement, but it gets me the most clients. So it all really depends on why we're posting.
Yeah. How do you recommend personal brands balance providing value and selling on social media?
So I think I'll utilize content pillars, and I think there needs to be a connection post. That's just you sharing your story behind the scenes of your life, things like that. So people know you other than just being a business or a brand. And then there has to be value of some kind, education. I always say keep it at like a 4th grade education level so that everyone can understand it. The next piece would be social proof. Share something that shows that you can help others get results. And then from there, I would say call to actions. So like a direct call to action. If you want help, comment keyword. If you want help, DM me keyword. And I would typically spread those out, one of those pillars every day of the week. Content is where we bring in new followers and we nurture our current audience. Stories is where we sell.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. So stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Stories is, I recommend being on your story 5 to 8 times a day. So there's a thing called the parasocial relationship. The parasocial relationship is where people feel like they know you on a personal level, right? They say that when you see someone on a screen, the same neurons in your brain fire as if you're standing in front of them having a conversation. So when they see you're behind the scenes of your life, you walking your dog, you making your breakfast, you doing your normal stuff throughout the day, they feel like they know you and they start to build way more trust. And so what I recommend doing after that is throwing up polls to drive engagement, because that helps with the algorithm. There's something called a bike shed poll. So it's like, which protein should I buy? This one or this one? Because people love to give their opinion. And as they start doing that, more people see your stories, more people start becoming conditioned that it's okay to vote on your poll because you're not going to spam them to death in the DMs. And then eventually, at some point in time during the week, then you throw out what's called a direct call to action. So if you're a fitness coach, it's like a before and after photo. Would you want results like this? Yes, no, I'm not tired of my own crap yet. You know what I mean? And everybody that votes on it, we're having a conversation.
Yeah. And what's your process on creating valuable content that resonates with your audience?
Yeah, that's a must. You have to have valuable content that resonates. And that's how you bring in new people, new eyeballs as well, by the value that you're providing. Alex Ramosi did a really good job at saying this years ago, right? He says, give away your best stuff for free, because then people will always wonder how good is your paid stuff, right? So even on my page, like, I post tons of value, things that people can actually utilize and go implement in their business and get results right now. And I do that because once they start making money, then they're going to be like, hey, like, you helped me make $5,000 just by watching some of your reels. Like, what's it look like to work with you?
Yeah. And what are some of the topics that people can utilize to scale a business on Instagram? So you've got fitness, you've got dating and relationships, you've got leisure, and lifestyle, and what other ones? Wealth. Yeah.
Wealth. So, yeah, I look at it like they're definitely health, wealth, and relationship space are the main three that if you choose something in that niche, then you'll always make money because there's always a demand for it. When it comes to fitness, it's like fat loss, muscle build, gut and health, or hormone, with money. When it comes to wealth, help people make money, help people invest money, help people trade money. When it comes to relationship, maybe you can help them fix a marriage. Maybe you can mend a family relationship. Maybe you can help them find love. Choose one of those things. And 9 times out of 10, you already know how to do something in that industry. You just have to have the courage to take it online and create something of your own.
Yeah. And what do you think is the biggest opportunity that's going to happen in the next year or two, especially now that Trump's been elected? What do you think is the biggest opportunity that people should divert their attention towards?
So I think that right now the economy is going to get way better. So everyone's going to have more money in their pocket. And not only that, the, new leadership is all about entrepreneurs and helping entrepreneurs in any way that they can. So whether it's tax cuts, whether it's, lower interest rates on specific loans for business owners, whether it's grants for business owners, like being able to leverage all of those things will be the biggest benefit for anyone either starting a business or trying to scale a business in the next 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. Interesting, before you mentioned managing money and budgeting. I mean, we're all pretty guilty of that, man. And I've spent a shit ton of money over the years on education, and I don't regret that whatsoever, and mentorship. But how can people better manage their finances?
So there's a fine line between that. I'll tell you something that I did is I read a book. I can't remember the author now. It's called Profits First. And I ended up using it not only for my personal finances, but also my business finances. And it talks about how it's like 5 bank accounts is what you have. You open 5 bank accounts. And inside of that 5 bank accounts, whether it's, you money, savings, investments, bills, and something else. And then on the business side, we have 5 accounts, one for operations, one for sales, one's for HR, and one's for marketing. And so the money all gets spread out based on a percentage number. So with your money that spread out, it's like you're not having to have a CPA go through and move and manage your money. Or as a business owner, you're not having to do it. You set up a percentage of what you want for each cash flowing thing that comes into the account. You want whatever percent. So for us, it's every time a client pays, 20% of that money immediately goes into the marketing account.
Yes. Yeah. And you faced a lot of adversity throughout your career, man. But how did you handle going through those tough moments, especially when you felt like giving up?
Yeah, you just got to push through. You got to be resilient, and you got to, you will be forged and taken through the fires, but it's a never ending journey. There is not a point in time in my life where it's oh, I've made it. I've done it. There's no more issues. I have no more problems. It's just a constant battle. And in the beginning, the hardest part is just enduring the valley of despair, right? So as you're in the valley of despair is the darkest place, and you're always wanting to quit. But if you continue to push through, you'll slowly rise up. And then the next issue that you deal with, now you have that skill set to go, I made it through this, so I know that I can overcome this. And it continually only gets better as the longer you're in business.
Yeah. And you know what too, man, some of the greatest lessons happen through struggle and failure. When you hit rock bottom, it fucking sucks, but there's so much growth and potential, and you look back on that and you realize, fuck, that needed to happen because I need to rise above it. I need to get through this to propel to the next stage in life. But you're a father, you've got kids, and how has business influenced the decisions that you've made to drive you towards success?
Yeah, that's been a big thing. When it comes to, just being a father or husband or whatever it may be, being able to learn to manage family and business is a skill set in its own. I feel, there's a time early in business where I was so hyper-focused on wanting to grow my business and make things work that's what I prioritized. And it came a point in time in my relationship to where it was things were just not good. I thought that I was doing what everybody wanted me to do, and that was just make more money and be more successful. When in all actuality, like my wife and kids, they didn't care about that. They just wanted a husband and a dad around. So I would sit in my office and work 16, 17 hours a day. And my wife would come down and be like, hey, are you going to eat supper? And I'm like, yes. I would never show up to the dinner table. She would come down, hey, are you coming to bed anytime soon? Yeah, I'll be there in a minute. Next thing you know, I look at the clock and it's 2 a.m. And it happened for so long. I had to decide, okay, I would much rather have my family and kids than a business that doesn't really serve me. And so creating non-negotiables and stop times, it's like, hey, this is what time I'm done working. I don't care if I'm done or not, because I'm taking off the business owner hat and I'm putting on the dad and husband hat, and kind of going through that process. That was a really, really hard phase to go through, but it's just trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, I've heard of people too, Dustin, that have an alarm to tell them when to stop work, which is interesting. You know, people have an alarm when to start work, but I've heard a lot of high performance entrepreneurs have an alarm to say now it's time for family time and leisure. You know, do you manage your time that way?
I do. And, you know, and I don't want to confuse some of the audience that's listening and they go, that is not a lifestyle that I want to live. I do not want to live a lifestyle like that. It becomes a part of who you are. And so for me, I have multiple alarms. So I use what's called the Pomodoro technique, right? And I use this for operations. I've used it for the whole time I've ever been in business, because it will allow me to say I need to be busy or productive for this time frame. And so in the morning, let's say like my very first task is going through and having a meeting with my team. So it's like my alarm goes off for the meeting, and then I have an alarm for the meeting that needs to end so that it ends then. And then I move on to my next task. At the 9 a.m., an alarm goes off that I need to go eat breakfast. 12:30, alarm goes off, I need to go eat lunch. In the evening, it's the same way. And then there's a stop time. Because without that, if you are, and I don't necessarily would consider myself like a high performance individual or whatever it is, like I just stay so busy and so consumed in work that's all I would do if I didn't have an alarm or someone tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, it's time to eat. You need to go eat. You need to stop what you're doing. It changes the game. And a lot of times I know if I were listening to someone say that and I was just starting, I would be like, that is not the lifestyle I want to live. But if you don't do it, then you will forget about yourself and you will put yourself on the back burner, and there's no longevity in that.
Yeah. I had the privilege of chatting with my cousin Dane. So Dane McDonald is the founder of Clean Health Fitness Education, one of the largest online fitness education platforms. He's collaborated with Lane Norton. He's also worked with James Smith as well. He's incredibly successful. He's done exceptionally well. But I was chatting to him too, man, and he really has sort of implemented time management skills because he fucking loves what he does. He enjoys it. He loves getting up and working. And he said, I wouldn't do it if I didn't wake up with a fucking hard on every day for this. But he has a time limit. He has a time because he needs time with his family. He needs to balance that out. And I'm sure you'd be the same, man, because, you know, you're a husband and you're a father and you're managing multiple businesses. You know, time management is going to be crucial, because if we're talking about quantity over quality, I mean, you know, do you want quality of time as opposed to quantity? I mean, you know, it must be incredibly difficult for you, man, because your family and your business, like, how do you balance everything out?
And so it comes down to, you know, and I know the Clean Health guys, by the way. I didn't know. That's awesome that that's your cousin. When it comes down to kind of managing that, it's really about having those non-negotiables in place. And it starts with having a hard conversation with yourself first on what you really want. And then from there being like, this is what I want. This is what I have to do to make sure that that happens. being able to set those non-negotiables like a stop time or like vacation time with your family or, whatever it may be. Like for me, for example, I never do anything on the weekends because that is my family time. During, my daughter plays a ton of travel softball. So on the weekends, we're always gone doing softball stuff. And I do not want to take that time away from me being able to experience that with her or her being able to experience me being present for those moments due to something like, well, dad's busy. He's got a business to run, right? Because I remember growing up as a kid, I didn't remember what my mom and dad were doing. I just know whether or not they were there. So I never want to put myself in a position that that's me.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone that's stuck in the 9 to 5? They hate their job. They are exasperated and just frustrated on their life circumstances, and they have so much more to give to the world. Where should they go? How do they break free and start a business?
Start messy and adjust as you go. Where I would start is find out what skill you have that you're okay with solving a problem on. If you're an in-person trainer, like go become an online fitness coach as a side hustle. If you work in finance, go help people learn to invest or trade or manage their money. We all have skill sets that we're able to help people with. It's just thinking outside of the box of what we actually want to do. If you're in a 9 to 5 that absolutely drains you, I want you to look at 5 years from now. If you make no other decision and you continue at the rate you're at, in 5 years from now, are you going to be happy? Is anything going to change? Are you going to make more money in 5 years? Like, what's going to happen? If nothing, then start changing it now by doing something up for yourself, right? Create a side hustle. Where I would start is leverage social media. Social media is a great tool. YouTube is an awesome place to learn. There are so many great mentors and entrepreneurs out there that post so much value on YouTube. Don't get consumed in information. Find one person and just start consuming their stuff. There's so many different people that have conflicting information. So find one and just start watching their stuff. Learn how to create content that speaks to an audience, how to create an offer, how to price it, how to package it, how to deliver it. And then from there, just start having conversations. Learn about the people that you want to serve and how you can serve them. Because once you understand what their pain points are, what they actually want, what they're dealing with, what their goal is, then you're able to put a nice shiny bow on it and launch it into the world.
Yeah. Talk to me about AI and if you use AI to leverage your business, because I think AI, we're not going back, man. We are not going back. We are just so far into the future. It's incredible. Where do you see it going? But how do you leverage AI for your businesses?
So I love AI. I think it's changing the game. But again, I will never use AI where I think it involves a human touch point. I got rid of my copywriters. I got rid of the people that script any YouTube videos, any of my content, and I leverage AI for it all. AI is a great tool. If you like ChatGPT, for example, you can train ChatGPT to sound exactly like you by just what you ask it. And it will spit like a word for word Instagram reel script out that you couldn't have created that sounded any more like you. So that's where I leverage it. When it comes to email marketing, when it comes to SMS marketing, I use ChatGPT. It saves you so much time. Even when you can, if you think about it, in the world of online fitness, people don't necessarily need an online fitness coach to tell them what to eat. They need an online fitness coach to hold them accountable to make sure that they're doing the thing they're supposed to do. Because we live in a world full of information and it's just at our fingertips. You can go to Ask AI, be like, hey, I'm 6'3", I weigh 255, and I want to lose 10 pounds. how many macros and what should I be eating for the next, 12 weeks? And it will give you a whole recipe. And it's like, cool, now make this into a grocery list. It'll give you the grocery list. Like, it will spit out anything you ask it to do. I think that if you're not learning AI now, or you haven't started learning it, you're going to be behind because it's only going to get more advanced.
Yeah. Where do you see AI going in the future?
It's really hard to tell with all of the things. They have so many new AI editing tools and things like that. I think eventually AI is going to be replacing any repetitive tasks that are out there. And with Elon Musk, it's hard to tell what he's going to create next. So I have no idea, but I can't wait to see it.
It's pretty amazing, man. Like, I'm excited to see where AI goes from here, but at the same time, you're right. It's going to put a lot of people out of jobs and businesses, and people that are obviously listening to this and can take away some things. You mentioned authenticity. That's king, just being real, true, and raw and open and honest. And people really respect that too. Would you agree that authenticity is going to be the main thing that people can try and utilize with their Instagram, social media presence, and scaling their businesses?
Yeah, 100%. Authenticity will separate you from everyone else. And for me, for example, the people that I would follow on social media is people that have raw vulnerability on their page, and it's not just a highlight reel, right? It's like, I don't care if you drive a Lamborghini or you have a new McLaren or you went on vacation to Turks and Caicos. Like, I don't care about any of that. I want to know, like, what's going on behind closed doors? How much money did you lose this month in revenue? How many people got fired? Like, what's going on in reality? Like, what are you struggling with? That's what I want to see. And so if I feel that way, I know other people do as well. So when you're just open and vulnerable with people, it will let them resonate more because they see you more as a human, and it allows them to build trust with you and go, wow, okay, I really like this person, and I can't believe that they shared that with them because I'm going through the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And touching on pain, so people will tend to resonate towards a feeling that they get. If you express that vulnerability in a way and you share that authentically and honestly and truthfully, people can resonate towards that, can't they?
100%. 100%. When you express your pain, it allows other people to become more open, and it will break down the barriers of them having to feel equal to or having to perform at a certain standard. They can be like, oh, holy shit, like, this person's being real. Like, I can be real with them.
Yeah. What do you think of Pate's the real world? So his platform, or his online education platform, has 18 modern wealth creations. And I think he's got a crypto course. He's got an AI course. There's copywriting. There's social media and marketing and things like that. But in terms of, have you sussed out what he offers? Because like, this is all the shit they don't teach you in school anyways. Like, this is stuff that you have to learn outside of school. Like, there are 14-year-old kids that are becoming multi-millionaires because of his education platform.
Yeah, and I like it. I don't know, like, all the ins and outs of it, but there's power in knowledge, and I do like the fact that he's teaching younger people what's actually possible and to think outside of the box, other than, hey, this is what you need to be doing. You need to be doing math and history and all of this, because let's face it, in the world that we live in, that's not going to serve you in the real world. What's going to serve you is understanding investments, understanding social media. We live in a different era than we did, back when I was in school. It's like, it's insane. And so crypto is one of those things that, just like anything, there's a risk involved, but by them being able to do it without putting a ton of money in, lets them learn it and understand it faster, to where they're going to be able to create generational wealth for themselves at a young age. And if they lose it, then it's teaching them the lesson about managing money that they needed to learn.
Yeah. Like I was talking to my cousin, Dustin, and he said if he lost it all tomorrow, he could scale it back up. You know, he has the skills and knowledge to be able to apply the lessons and failure and hardships to be able to build another multi-million-dollar business. What are some of the skills that you've learned throughout your whole entrepreneurial journey that you would never learn in school?
Oh, it would definitely be understanding the value of a dollar and just understanding money in general. And then, taxes, like taxes is something that they don't teach you in school, but you need to know it. Like they need a class on taxes.
They do.
Right. Taxes are insane, man. But yeah, just the basic stuff that you deal with in business, sales, marketing, taxes, and managing money is huge. And I feel like that's something that kids need to learn at a young age, because even as an 18-year-old kid that's working a full-time job, you're going to have to pay taxes, and you don't have anybody to teach you that other than the people that go to your school or your parents. So, and if you're in a bad home or you've been in a bad upbringing, or hell, maybe you're living on your own at 18, where are you supposed to learn it?
Yeah. And you know what too, man? I read somewhere that the average teenager, once they finish high school, goes to university, will walk out of there $26,000 in debt. And it's a pretty incredible system that they have in place. You know, you go to school, you get a job, and then you go to university, and then you hopefully that degree will help you out in the real world. And then you find out it's not really that applicable. But what are things that you're teaching your kids? Like, what are some of the things that you've sort of applied right now?
So things that I teach my kids is that you can always work harder, right? There's always another gear to grab. For whatever reason, the standard of hard work isn't where we normally think it is, because we get so complacent we get tired and it's like, oh, I work so hard, or I'm tired. And we think that that's all we have, but there's always more gas in the tank. Understanding that you can push past that discomfort and reach another level of something else is where great things start to happen. So that's what I teach my kids. You know, for example, my daughter, who plays travel softball, not only does she go to school full time, but then we have softball lessons after school. And then on the weekends when she plays catcher, and it's not that she sits there behind the plate in 100-degree heat and catches one game. It's like we're playing an 8-hour tournament. So she'll play 5 or 6 games behind the plate. And, you'll have some people that they say they're tired after one game. And it's like, come on, you know what I mean? And money is a whole nother thing. So like for my kids, something that I utilize is there's something called a green light card. I'm not sponsored by them, but whatever, right? It's called a green light card. And it's something that I got from my kids because it teaches them how to actually manage money. So it is a debit card for kids. And what you can do is they have a spending balance, they have an investment balance, and then they have like a tithe and giving balance on there. And they get to manage the money. And so every week when my kids get paid, only if they mark their chores off and get their job completely done, it puts money in their account. And then they're able to spend the money or invest the money so it can grow, or put it in their tithe account. And my daughter was one of those people that's like, give me. Like, I need money. I want to buy this. I want to buy this. Well, when she gets her own money, I'm like, you can get it, but you got to spend your own money. Now she's to the point where it's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth me spending my own money on. So I'm a big believer in you have to let your kids learn as they go, and you can't coddle them too much because the real world won't coddle them, regardless of if you're coming from money or the situation you have or whatever it may be. It's just like buying your kid their first car. I told my son that I would match whatever he earned to buy a car. because if I were to go out and buy the car, he wouldn't treat it the same. He would wreck it. He would just, in 2 weeks, there would be trash all in it. So it's like, if you want a car, you can save your money. You can go buy a car because you will respect it more. You will have more care for it because it's something that you own and your hard work earned it.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have a son, and we are in a situation right now where men are really finding it difficult to find their place in the world. They don't know where to go because for years and years, we were in a situation where men were the primary breadwinner. But now women obviously are in the workforce, which is amazing. But what are some of the skills and knowledge and tools that you're going to be teaching your son, especially with navigating the world that we're in right now?
So definitely that he is his own person, right? He uses his own voice and makes his own decision regardless of what the world tells him. And it's understanding the typical skill sets that, again, they're not taught in school. So it was things that my dad never really taught me that I wish he would have, like how to actually change a car tire, where to locate the jack, like simple stuff that men need to know or are expected to know that they don't unless they're taught. So going through that process and understanding that men aren't necessarily the breadwinner, but men are the caretaker of the house when it comes to being the protector.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are supposed to be the protector regardless of the situation, regardless of how you feel, even if it's someone that you don't know. If there's someone smaller than you, you're there to protect the other person regardless. And just kind of getting them to understand that and going through that process, because I feel like where the world is now, and it's only getting worse, is trying to take away not only the masculinity of the world, but letting people know that it's okay to step up and protect another person.
Yeah.
Regardless of consequences, do the right thing and step up and protect the smaller person.
It really annoys me, man. The fact that we're in this position right now where the sexes are combative towards one another, it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. We should be working together to unite and help each other. And both men and women, we're a team and we raise a beautiful family. And, I think what role that men want to do is they want to protect, they want to provide, for their family. And they're in a difficult conundrum right now because society is telling them the opposite and it's going against their hardwire. So, yeah, what do you think of the current wave of pushing this narrative towards toxic masculinity and all this shit that's going on in the news and what people are saying? And like, it's does my fucking head in.
Yeah, I think that I don't watch the news. And the reason why is because every time I do, I feel like all they're trying to do is divide us. And the narrative that they're trying to push, I think they're pushing it with the intention of making men lesser than. And that's not coming from a place of being sexist. That's coming from a place of they see men as a threat. So they try and shut us down because I've seen so many different things about, watching things about predators and stuff like that. And, they're asking predators, it's like, what did you used to look for? And they always say, the first thing I look to see is that if they had a father that was going to protect them. Right. And so is that, what does that mean? Does that mean that the father was fit? Does that mean that the father was present? Like, what does that mean? But so for me, it's like, I'm going to make sure that I'm always in decent shape, not because of my image, but because I want to be able to protect anyone that is around me, especially if it's my family. I'm curious to see the way things go, but I think with new leadership in place, it's going to make a drastic turn, which is for the better.
Yeah, and I think too, man, we really need to start celebrating both men and women for all the remarkable things that they're capable of doing. And I've talked about this on length in previous podcasts about what men will do in a crisis situation. You guys had a tragic mass shooting back in 2012 at a cinema, and there was a story about 4 of the boyfriends that jumped in front of the bullets to protect their girlfriends. All 4 girlfriends survived. All 4 boyfriends died. They literally died to protect their girlfriends. And this is the masculinity. Like, we don't live on the same fucking planet if you're telling me that this is toxic masculinity. You know what I mean? Like, men will do some heroic things to protect the people that they love. And I really do think that society needs to come together as a whole and to unite and raise the next generation, because I got to be honest, man, the younger generation are confused as fuck. They really are.
Yeah, they are. And I couldn't agree with you more there. Yeah, there is a men and women are what create balance in the world. And if we're trying to lean one way or the other too heavy, it causes an imbalance, which only disrupts the world. And there's, I don't know if it's coming from colleges. I don't know. There's just so many different things. But I've seen like big colleges, senior women or senior girls will go off to these colleges, and in like their second year of college, they completely have different beliefs. They completely changed who they are as a person. And it's like, holy shit, like what are they teaching in these colleges? Like, is it even education based, or is it about politics? Like, what is it that they're teaching? But in order to keep the scales on a level playing field, there has to be balance. And that comes from both men and women. I don't feel like there's a particular role, but men are known for being the protector. Like, that is what they're known for. That's why, and I don't want to get in, I'm not going to get into it, but that's why men are just built different, right? That's why they're bigger. We're bigger in general to help protect, smaller people. But it blows my mind. It blows my mind. I do not watch the news just because of all this bullshit. Every time I turn the news on, it's the same bullshit.
Yeah, I'm the same, man. I don't watch the news. You hear about it. You just hear about events, because I watch the news, man. It's depressing. It really is. I don't want to be like, you can be informed, but you don't have to be inundated. I don't want to know about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I don't want to hear about all the people that have died, and I don't want to hear about children being blown up in Israel and Gaza. Like, I just don't want to hear about that stuff, man. I know it's heartbreaking to just hear it, but yeah, I think also you are what you feed your brain as well. And I'm sure, you're very much a big advocate for what you feed, and talk to me about personal development. So, with not just business related, but, you're talking about mindset, and talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, personal development is kind of where it all starts. And you make a decision that you want to be a better you, right? And it's like, how can I be the best version of myself possible? And it all starts with just making the decision that you want to be better first, and then educating yourself, creating discipline in your own life, and holding yourself accountable to actually doing the thing that you promised yourself you're going to do. That's where it starts, because if we can't do that, we won't be able to do anything else. The biggest wins you can ever have, and when it comes to creating self-discipline, is just doing the thing that you tell yourself you're going to do and practicing it over and over again. And I'm not talking about massive wins. I'm talking about the small things in your daily life. Hey, you know what? I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning. That alarm goes off. We're getting up, and you pat yourself on the back. I did what I said I was going to do. Now I'm going to go to the gym every day. Go to the gym. You pat yourself on the back. You're slowly building confidence, going through the motions of just doing the small stuff. So when it comes to something bigger, now you have that self-confidence that I did all of these things. There's no doubt in my mind that I can attack and do this. The byproduct of doing all of those is that you're instilling discipline in yourself without even knowing it.
Yeah. And see, I'm a fighter, Dustin. I've been doing martial arts for over 30 years. And, when I'm wrestling with a high-level black belt, when we're going at it, sometimes too, man, like 80% of the time going to the gym, I don't feel like working out. But there's a part of me that I know that once I've done that workout, you just get such that huge euphoric feeling, that gratification, and, you know, you just feel so happy within yourself. And I call it voluntary adversity. It's doing the things that you don't feel like doing, pushing yourself and getting it done just has a profound effect on how you feel mentally. That's why the ice bath craze was, you know, going nuts. People are doing the ice baths because it sucks when you do it. You're in there, you're like, this is fucking freezing. I don't like this. But we know that doing those hard tasks day in, day out just has such a profound effect. Are you into the whole ice bath? Have you tried that before?
I've done it before. It's not something that I do all the time. I've done, you know, the ice bath thing, cryotherapy. I've done all that. And I believe that with me, my biggest adversity is just showing up every single day. Like, that is my biggest thing. Going to the gym is definitely my non-negotiable. Getting up at 4:30 every morning is definitely a non-negotiable. And like having those in my life, once I do those every day, it's just patting myself on the back. You know, when it comes to the whole ice bath thing, I think there's a fine line in between determining, are these people doing it because are they actually doing it, or are they just doing it for their highlight reel? Right? That's something that I ask myself often. And to determine that. But yeah, what about you? Are you doing that? Do you do the ice bath thing?
I've done it a couple of times. Yeah, and I understand the benefits. There's a lot of health benefits for it. Do I have an ice bath at home? No, but I have done it before, and I can understand why people do it. But yeah, me personally, man, like, I love working out. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. But 80% of the time, I always don't feel like it. Like, if I'm doing legs, you know, a leg day in the gym, you know, I'm like, fuck, it's squat day, you know, and I always get sick. I always feel nauseous after a grueling leg session. But once you've done that workout, I mean, the hardest part is just getting started. Once you're in there, you get started and you start to get a bit of a sweat on, you finish that workout, fuck, you feel so much better. You really do.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. One last question, Dustin. Have you got any advice that you could share that could help me? So I'm about 47 episodes in on my podcast channel. I've talked with some amazing, influential people, from martial artists, UFC fighters, Hollywood actors, dating and relationships experts, high-performance entrepreneurs like yourself, bodybuilders. I'd love to grow my channel and provide some authentic value and share that with people, because I've got to be honest, man, I really enjoy sitting down and talking with like-minded people like yourself. But what advice would you give to me, or even anybody else that's starting a channel that wants to grow their Instagram or, you know, podcasting channel? Like, just being real authentic was one of them. But what advice would you give?
So everything gets better with the reps, right? We start messy, and then once we hit about 100, then we start kind of tweaking and making adjustments, and then we continue to push through. In order to grow, I love the saying. It's just like, just start messy and do the thing. Because if it comes down to content, in the beginning, most people struggle with confidence on camera. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to show up. It's like, just hold the camera up and go. Once you get to like 100, 120, like, they're only going to get better. And as long as you continue to show up, the followers, the audience, all of that will continue to grow. But the moment you stop, all of the hard work and effort you put into this point goes away.
Yes. Yeah. Just constant repetition. Yeah. 100%. Dustin, where can people find you, mate? So you're on all the socials?
Yeah, Instagram is probably the best place to find me. At Dustin.Lash is my Instagram handle. I typically will run my main account, so shoot me a follow if you got questions or something like that. We can definitely connect there. And I'm always down to have a conversation with someone.
Yeah. And any plans to do any travel and maybe do some seminars and workshops? Like, have you been to Australia?
I have not. I've wanted to come to Australia. I might have to come that way sometime for sure. My wife and family, it's a beach thing. Like, anytime we get time away, it's like, oh, let's go to the beach. So I'm assuming that it'll probably be the beach. I'm thinking maybe April. We'll probably go over to Huntington Beach, California. Is probably my next trip.
Yeah, I'm not bragging, man, but we have some of the best beaches in the world here in Australia. Like, so I'm in Brisbane. The Gold Coast, just down from me, is a popular touristy destination. We really do, man. We're kind of blessed in this country to have some amazing beaches, but at least you know someone now, man. I'd be happy to show you around if you're ever down under.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I'm gonna get that way because my wife and I enjoy surfing. So I'm sure
Mate,
the
you'd love
water.
it. Yeah, you'd love it. 100%. Awesome, Dustin. It's been an honor sitting down and chatting with you, mate. I really appreciate it. And just an insightful interview that I've had with you, man. And we'll definitely keep in touch.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on. Great conversation, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Cheers, Dustin. Thanks, mate.
See ya.